Waiting for that.
All right. So I'd like to move a little bit further in the piece. Maybe, I don't know if we'll get to finish it today or we'll finish it next time. But he has a part here where we mentioned that everything that happened, all the lights that came down in by the redemption of Egypt, all of those miracles that occurred because of the light of Geula that came in, that really opened the faucet for every subsequent Geula, and including the final Geula. So every miracle that is going to happen really came down into the world in Yetzias Mitzrayim. And the reason it came down in Yetzias Mitzrayim in the way it did, breaking nature, is because the world wasn't really prepared for that. For the integration of that light with the natural world, and over the process of doing the Torah and living 3,500 years, so by the time of the final redemption, that when that same light is now coming into the world is prepared to receive that light, integrate that light, and therefore the miracles that occur will not be ones that have to break nature, but
Michael, actually did a he said, how the rock meal is, and then he did this.
Mm-hmm.
Did a good job.
We saw a humongous miracle the other day. That Yamach Shemo blew himself up.
Oh.
No, in Tel Aviv.
Oh yeah.
That was another Sbarro. That just didn't happen. Baruch Hashem. Really?
Yeah. Well, I saw on the news this morning. Somebody, I think it was down in Jordan Valley, they were fixing it up and they blew themselves up.
Okay, Ken Yerbo.
And
The thing with money is no small potatoes.
Which what?
They hacked the
the banks. Yeah, I didn't even hear what came of that. Like I heard it was the biggest. It was the biggest cyber attack ever. And
did you see what it said on the screen when the everyday person went to get their money?
Right.
It said your money is being
gone.
used. Yeah, it's gone because it's being used to fund the war and all that.
Yeah.
They hacked into the ATMs in Tehran.
Oh,
So-
I mean,
yeah, the bank
I
system.
didn't hear about that at all.
Yeah, they claimed it was one of the biggest cyber attacks ever.
So what is that one? Is that one in our? Is that for column B for?
Well, that it worked out, I guess. Really, it's what we're saying here is that we have to figure out, because basically what's coming out here is that, listen, what is the splitting of the sea? Okay, so the splitting of the sea, kiyamei seischa, right? The Rebbe asked the question in the beginning of the sicha, in the beginning of the mimer, which is why is the verse plural? Kiyamei seischa, the days of your going out of Egypt, right? It should have just been the day that you went out of Egypt, but it's including the whole process, including the sea. And basically, what he says is that the splitting of the sea, that there will be a splitting of the sea at the final redemption. And the splitting of the sea at the final redemption already came down, or was already contained in the splitting of the sea of the redemption from Egypt. And not only will there be a splitting of the sea, but there'll also be a splitting of the river. There'll be a river that splits as well. And that's also contained, even though that the splitting of the river is even on a higher level than the splitting of the sea, for whatever that, we'll explain what that means. We'll try to explain what that means. It's all contained in the splitting of the sea. What's the splitting of the sea? What's the Kabbalistic mushal? What does the splitting of the sea symbolize? That we went out, like he could have done it anyway. He could have made a land bridge. All of the animals of the world could have come and they could have just walked over the elephants' backs through the sea. Like what is it that the sea split? Why is that the miracle that occurred? What deeper concept of idea is being expressed through the sea splitting and seeing and walking on the dry land? And so he explains. Really, the Rabbi Yoel here kind of gives some explanation here, and basically that the word yam, or the idea of Yam, the sea, hints to the sphere of Malchus. Okay? The sphere of Malchus. Malchus, the sphere of Malchus is the sphere where we all live in. Like it's Malchus is our world. Okay? And I'm not sure if that's correct what I said, that we live in it. I don't know if we live in that sphere, but Malchus is indicative of our world, like the Shechina, our world. That is it's the lowest sphere. It's the lowest sphere.
The expression of the seer.
What?
It's the expression. Malchus is the expression of the world of the seer.
Of a
The
seer.
five worlds.
Yes. So just like the sea covers everything that's inside of it, right? When you look out at the ocean, you don't see anything inside. You just see the water. You just see the sea. It covers everything that's going on underneath the sea. So too, the Malchus hides and covers all of the lights that have come down to Malchus. So, right, the Malchus is the lowest sphere. So all of Hashem's lights and blessings and everything and the reality that is going to come into this world, it all comes through all the spheros and then comes down through Malchus. And Malchus is kind of the one that hides everything. Malchus hides, don't look here, don't see, it's the final quality check that Hashem's, presence and light is not going to be detectable so easily. Okay, that's Malchus's job to hide Hashem's, the ability to just get that it's all Hashem, right? Because it's all Hashem at the end of the day. But Malchus is the sphere that covers over and hides those lights that are of the upper worlds and of Hashem that are shining into it, in order that we can actually live our life. We can live our life, and we can live our life and do avodas Hashem. Because we said last week, right, that if we just saw Hashem everywhere, if Hashem was just hi all the time, wake up, hi, it wouldn't really give us place to sin. It wouldn't give us place to sin. It wouldn't give us an opportunity to come to the relationship from our own initiative. It would be very overwhelming. It would be very overpowering. It would remove our free will. Because if Hashem is saying, hi, I'm right here, everything's here, everything's clear, right? Like, the right thing, the wrong thing, and we'd be like, yeah, you got it, So it's like the boss is watching the entire time. You don't really have free will, and your initiative and your motivation for serving God is kind of skewed because He's right there, and so it's like, well, what else am I supposed to do? The guy's right here. I gotta shape up. I gotta act right. So my whole motivation, my whole coming close to Hashem is a little bit would be tainted if He were so visible and so present. So Malchus has the job of hiding and covering Hashem's presence and the awareness of Hashem in the world, so that we can have the challenge of life and the point of this world, this life.
Will we have that challenge reduced during Mashiach's time?
It will be completely removed.
So we won't have free will?
Basically not. There won't be a Yetzer Hara. There won't be a Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara will be removed, and there'll be no more struggle.
So Russian girls are out the window.
Well, it depends what you wanted, what we're talking about.
What you want to do with them. No, wait a second. Can you just go back 2 seconds and just say it again? That Yam and Malchus.
Yeah. So the sea represents Malchus, which is this element that hides Hashem, kind of keeps Hashem on the DL in our world.
I understand.
And so the Yam is also that. And so when the sea split, it revealed what was inside.
Okay, thank you.
We could see what was inside. And when they walked through, they could see through the water. They could see like glass. They could see through everything. Everything was so clear. They could see underneath. The splitting of the sea is representational of the hiddenness of Hashem's lights.
I got it.
Yeah.
And the sphere is, as far as the spherot go, I mean, Malchus was always known to be the one that was this worldly. I don't know why.
Thank you, Jeff.
You should know that. But
Oh no, it's all right. I mean, listen, they're all different ways of talking about things, and they have, I didn't know this.
you hear that?
I didn't know this.
It's a bomb when he just dropped the bomb.
What was the bomb?
the bomb is that what the sea represents is the same idea of what Malchus represents, basically, and that to and the fact that it's covered and it's not apparent to us is something that is the test, basically.
It's
Did
a
I
test.
Did I say it right?
Yeah. And so the splitting of the sea is the removal of the test. It's the removal of the test. So when we left Mitzrayim, we saw the sea split, and we saw it, and it was a show-stopping miracle, and we saw reality. The sea went back. But we saw, like, when the lightning strikes and you see the entire landscape in front of you illuminated for a moment, and so now, even though it's pitch black again, you kind of know where the next steps are. You know, kind of
Wow.
generally where the
That's
direction is going.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful mushroom.
So when the sea splits and the final redemption, that will be it. There won't be, I don't know, whatever.
What did
this-
we learn? What did we chop when that happened? In the same way that you just that mushroom. What was the wow of it?
that really everything's Hashem. That there's that just the malchus, the hiding, the test that emerges from the fact that there's a hiddenness. The hiddenness is no longer everything.
The same revelation in the end of the days that
It's going to be the same in the same vein, exactly.
Even that was above it.
Right, that was above it.
Revelation was in nature itself.
Well, that's what will be. It will be that same element of what's underneath and what's hidden be revealed, but it's not going to be done according to the Rebbe, according to this. It's not going to happen through these crazy supernatural miracles. It's going to be intranatural miracles. We have to come up with a new word. There's supernatural, and I don't know what's supra. What's supra?
Above nature.
Above? Well, that's supranatural.
It was
So
a Toyota. They made it a few years ago.
the Supra?
Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't Supra, it was Supra.
Okay.
Okay.
You know.
And then the sitting of there's also a splitting of the river.
Let's-
When we went into Israel, when we ended up going into Israel 40 years later after Egypt, Joshua, the priests and everybody, they were with the Aaron, and the water of the river of the Jordan split, right? It kind of piled up, and the water kept going, and they walked on the dry riverbed. So that's going to be something that wasn't part of Yetzias Mitzrayim. It happened much later. It happened 40 years later, but it was meant to happen concurrently. It was meant to happen juxtaposed to them leaving Egypt, going in the river splitting. So in the final redemption, there'll be the splitting of the sea, which is one level of revelation, of connection of Malchus with the rest of the Spheros, and then the splitting of the river will be an even higher revelation of with the Ein Sof, kind of like with when we talk about nature being elevated, and now nature is getting the energy directly from godliness. That's kind of maybe being compared to the splitting of the river. This
When
is
you say the river. You
yeah.
talking about the Jordan?
I'm not sure what river.
They claim the Jordan. You're coming in from.
Well, that's when the original one was the Jordan. The original one was the Jordan. But again, these are not necessarily things that have to involve a river or a physical river. I don't know what these are going to look like, but it's two phases. It's two phases. There's the splitting of the sea, and there's the splitting of the river. And these are two things that are going to happen as part of the coming of the final redemption.
Why the splitting of the river was greater even in the
Because a river is connected to the Malchus, to the sphere of Bina. It's the sphere of Bina.
That's a much higher level.
Yes, a much higher level. And just like the river keeps flowing, so too the thoughts of Bina never stop. They're always flowing. I don't know what that means. And so it's representative of a much bigger connection. Like the splitting of the sea is Malchus with Atzilus. Okay? So you can see that the highest lights in Atzilus can be visible through Malchus. Malchus will no longer hide those lights. But then the splitting of the river will be all of that connected to the source of Ein Sof. So Atzilus and the whole Seder Shtalshalos is still a created thing, that will be connected to the Or Ein Sof above it, and will be kind of the final, I don't know, connection or whatever. So, and
So they're not
it's beyond
connected
me.
now?
What?
So they're not connected now?
Well, no. They're connected, but it's we experience a disconnect. We experience a great disconnect
So the
because
connection
we
is there
live in.
now and will be there then. We'll just be able to perceive it on a higher level.
I think it'll be the nature will the nature of the output will be such that there won't be any more hiddenness, and the instead of us being nurtured now from our soul, right? And the only reason we need to eat and drink and breathe is to keep our blood a good vessel for our soul, which is keeping us alive. After the splitting of the river or whatever, it'll be that our body, our physical body, will be godly, will be godly powered, not through the soul, but the body itself, the physical body itself will be powered by godliness. There'll be no, even though this is, we are there's a limit here, it won't hide the fact that this is completely Hashem. And that's really what we said in the very beginning of Levado, right? We said Levado, we said the highest level of Nes. We said the highest level of Nes is that Nes that's through nature that even Baal Haniso Eino Makir, that even the guy who the Nes occurred to doesn't even realize the Nes happened to him because it was so in nature. You don't remember that? Okay. So it's good we're reviewing. And that is the miracle, like Rabbi Akiva's daughter. She stuck the hairpin in the wall,
okay.
and she didn't realize she killed a poisonous snake that was about to bite her.
Right.
Okay, so a nace happened. She didn't even realize the nace happened to her, and that was something that was out of nature. That was not nature. Didn't dictate that. That was Hashem manipulating nature. It was within nature, right? The snake died from the pin. There was no crazy miracle. Her hand just went back like a normal hand that didn't extend, 10 meters or anything like that. There was no supernatural event in her muscles or in the snake or in the pin or anything. But the fact is that she should have died. She should have died that night. That was what nature had decreed. That was part of nature. But because of the Ma'aseh Tzedakah that she did, the Ma'aseh Chesed that she did, she was Zoicha for Hashem to intervene in nature. And that was Hashem Levado. This is Hashem Levado. This is what we're going to, the Levado. Okay? When we said initially when a miracle comes in and the world's not ready for that miracle and it breaks nature, what we see and we've had a lot of discussions about this and trying to understand this, but we see if Hashem breaks nature, then what I'm left with is still an idea that there's Hashem and there's nature. And Hashem, in order to intervene, has to break nature. He has to break nature.
We need 'em.
Right? That was what it would, I could still be left with such an idea. I don't have a proof to not that way. That Hashem's deciding the way he wants to intervene is he has to break nature. There's nature, and then there's Hashem, and he's not strong enough, as it were, to manipulate nature. He has to break nature. Okay? So there's not a Levado. Levado means by himself. Hashem by himself. There's not a Levado because there's still a Teva. There's still nature. Hashem's unity and complete power and singularity over the world is not fully expressed by coming out of Egypt and the miracles that were done there. That unity, that singularity, that there is only Hashem and nothing else, is only when...
Except what you said a second ago is that, like, when he split that sea, and I asked you, what do we get out of that? We get, that he's running the whole thing.
Right.
So
that's what we were, and the Ramban says it also. The Ramban says it also is that when Hashem broke nature and he did these miracles that were above nature, that's for us to realize that really everything is like that. Everything is like that. Okay? That really everything is like that. We shouldn't think, and the Rebbe also talks about that in Sichos and Chanukah, and that when we see these big miracles that break nature, really what we need to get into our brains is that everything's like that. That there is no such thing as just, the nature that Hashem cannot intervene with, on a natural level, okay? But the question is that when there's that relationship of nature having to be broken to express that, there's still something wanting. There's still something wanting on two levels. There's something wanting. Okay, let's just try to get this clear. On two levels, there's something lacking. There's something that Yetzias Mitzrayim and the miracles of Egypt left wanting. Two things. One is that Hashem's complete, total dominion over the entire world was not as clearly expressed as it could have been. Right? The clearness, the clarity of that expression, even though the sea split and that was a way to express that, but since in Teva, the way the miracle came down by breaking Teva still kind of showed as if there's still two things.
This is a goofy question, but what might he have done differently?
So listen to this, okay? Listen to this. So I don't know what he would have done differently because that's basically what you're saying, what's going to be, So one thing is that with nature having to be broken, you still see there's, we have to think about it, we have to contemplate, we have to get into our minds, and that really it's all Hashem. But the miracles kind of look like there was Hashem and there was nature, and they're kind of like fighting with each other. There's a little bit of a tension. That's what could be seen. So that's one thing that's a little bit uncompleted about that, right? You hear what I'm saying? There's something a little bit less perfect. There's something could be more perfect with those miracles. That if it still looks like a little bit like Hashem and nature are opposites.
You're making the effort to answer it, but right? I mean, I'm asking. You say.
Okay. The other problem is that by doing miracles that break nature like that, you're basically inducing a relationship with God. You're compelling a relationship with God.
Right.
Because when you do a crazy, wacky miracle like that,
wow,
you are compelling me. You're basically forcing me to believe in you, to follow you, to be obligated to you. That's what you're doing. You're obligating me, you're compelling me to follow you and to do your will. In fact, the Chovas HaLevavos says in Cheshbon HaNefesh, says everybody has a different level of Cheshbon HaNefesh based on their level of obligation. And what is my level of obligation dependent on? How much I see that God is doing in my life. So he brings the generation that came out of Egypt, saw all of these things, saw Hashem working for them day and night, tirelessly working for them. They saw it with their eyes. Their obligation to Hashem was the max, because they saw Hashem running their lives, giving them blessings, giving them their parnasa. They saw it. So that obligates them more than us who hasn't seen really Hashem ever, to such a intense degree, right? We have not seen Hashem to the intense degree that the people left Egypt, right? So that means that our obligation in a certain sense, our indebtedness in a certain sense is not on the same level because we didn't have that privilege to see those things like they did. So you see that by showing in such a forceful way is compelling, and by compelling, I'm not saying it positively. It's not positive. Because then my avoda to Hashem is skewed. It's compelled. It's forced. I'm manipulated. And so therefore my devotion and my loyalty is also maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe yes, just like Hashem, when he did the miracles and broke nature, maybe he could, work with nature. But right now I see that there's like two things. So too with us. And I know that's not true, right? I know that's not true. Hashem can totally take nature, right? But the way he did the miracle still leaves such a question, a possibility, a potential, right? Maybe Hashem and nature are, Hashem can't, really work in nature. Obviously that's not true. But that's what that possibility was still left open. Similarly, in all the Jews' hearts, who experienced coming out of Egypt and Matan Torah, also there was some question left. Do you really love Hashem? Do you really want to follow Hashem? Or are you just compelled from this intense experience that you had, that he gave you? But if that went away, you'd be like, I'm going to go back to my day job.
But it went away. It went away. Next thing you know, they're building some garbage.
Yeah, so you see that it wasn't sticking. It wasn't sticking. That being compelled wasn't sticking. It wasn't just a question mark. It was almost an answer. There was an answer that, yeah, this is just being compelled. And as long as I can compel them with crazy light shows and laser shows, and I can keep them at the show. But as soon as the curtain comes down and the lights come on, they're done. They're out. They're getting the seconds of popcorn.
Don't teach the music.
What are you getting so hot about, man?
So do we see how that is that clear that there were these the parallel to what question was left with Hashem's power, so too there is a question that was left in our ability to really have a pure loyalty and devotion to Hashem was also lacking, because it was compelled, and there are even Torah sources, Kabbalistic sources, that compare Hashem's taking us specifically through the sea as a rape. Okay?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty strong.
Yeah. It was there was a forcing. There was a forcing of the issue. That Hashem made us his people, but that wasn't something that we really had an ability to consent to. There wasn't consent. Okay? There really wasn't a consent on the part of Klal Yisrael. We wanted, he was saving us. But there was a lack of consent on our part because he was compelling us through this thing. And so
Motion was to breaking the laws of nature compelled us to say this.
exactly. And so you have this element that's lacking from, and the major lack of the redemption of Egypt is that there's still a Yetzer Hara. Right? It wasn't a complete redemption. So there are really three components that I think are all tied together that characterize what was not perfect about the first redemption and what will be corrected by the final redemption. Okay, one is that we were still left with the Yetzer Hara. There wasn't a redemption of our capacity to do evil. It was just our ability to choose. That's what we were redeemed to be able to now choose to do. But we still had the struggle. Secondly, is that we still have the possibility to think that God and nature, that there's God and there's nature. Okay, that it's not all God. Okay, right? Because he had to break nature. Okay, so I still see that there's still nature. And then the third one is that from the relationship element of Yisrael, is that we also, our devotion and our motivation and our relationship with Hashem is still in an immature state, and a state where we're compelled and we're basically forced into the relationship rather than a purely consensual, equal, loving, willing, wanting connection to Hashem. Okay? Any questions?
No,
Right
it's actually coming together after all these weeks much better. But I wonder why there has this like kind of pecking order or something. It's like, so and so is a tzaddik, and so is a Russia, and so is a Beinoni, and so like what, and so like, and he can do tshuva, and so there's like there's this whole machine that's chasing us, or that we're chasing. That it just seems to be this. It's like a treadmill or something, or a what a conveyor belt or something, and it just is that. Is that the whole? Is that machine? Is that
You're
gonna
saying
go
this is like a rat race. There's a little bit of like a rat race, not a
It's
competition
like a
necessarily,
Jewish
but
rat race,
like
though.
this spiritual rat race that we're
That's
kind of just
right.
on this wheel. We're on this
That's
wheel,
exactly right.
maybe, and it's just like we can't get off. And like after 120, we can get off, but God knows He'll push us back on because we didn't finish the race properly in the first
So what's
lifetime.
that all about?
And yeah, this is the 6,000 years of this world. Okay, this is part of the only ability to really come to God and enjoy God is to have to experience this world, this world of the 6,000 years, and we are now in the most hidden place. God is the most hidden He's ever been. God is the most hidden He's ever been because the process of creation. Okay.
You mean like
Okay.
more
Hold on.
in-
Let's
more
just
in-
get everybody on the same page.
more,
Let's just
more
make sure
in
we're on the same page.
2024 than in 1924, for instance. Or,
I mean, that's maybe a maybe a slight difference, but yeah, but definitely more than 1,004 and 4, and 1,000 BCE 4, you know what I mean. So there's a very interesting Ramban, a very foundational Ramban on the Torah on Kiddush, actually where the words of Kiddush, Vayichulu Hashemayim, the Ramban there, and he says basically that the entire history of the world, that the 6 days of creation, the 2 creation stories. The 2 creation stories?
Shama v'Zachar?
No, there are 2 creation stories. There's the first chapter of the Bible, which is, there was an evening, there was morning, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, yeah? And then there was, and now chapter 2, which is, and now these are the generations of the heavens and the earth when Hashem created them, and then He put Adam and Eve in the garden, and and the whole story, okay? So what's that first story? It's 2, even Bible critics, they point out they're 2 creation stories. They're 2 creation stories. And the first creation story just says man and woman, He created them. It doesn't say Adam and Eve. It doesn't just talk about where He put them. Okay, so the Ramban says is that the first creation story, the days, evening, morning, day 1, second day, third day, is actually a history of the entire world. Okay, that every 1,000 years, there's a pasuk in Tehillim that says 1,000 years is like a day for Hashem. Okay, and so that every day is related to the 1,000 years of history. So there's 6 days, the 6,000 years of history. Okay, so he goes through each day and basically says what happened on that day, what was created on that day, and how that corresponds to what happened during that millennium. Okay, so during the first day, there was just light, right? Hashem created light. On the first 1,000 years, that was basically nothing was happening. It was just Adam. Adam was created, and he was called Or Olam, the light of the world. And he lived about, how long Adam lived? 930 years. He was supposed to live a full 1,000 years, but because he saw that David HaMelech was going to be a stillborn, he donated 70 of his years to David, to King David. And so he took that hit. So he was only 930 when he died, and David got the other 70. And so that was the day 1. Okay? Day 2. What happened on day 2? Anybody know what was created on day 2? What? Right. There was the splitting of the Rakia. And that day, what was unique about day 2 in creation? Unlike any other day. It didn't say...
It was good.
Didn't say it was good. What happened during the second 1,000 years? There was the flood. There was a split between what happened before, what happened after, and that split was with water, okay, from before and from after, like the splitting of the Rakia, and that wasn't good. That wasn't good. That wasn't good, right? Hashem doesn't like destroying the whole world. So that wasn't good. Day 3, what happened on day 3? What was created on day 3?
And the
Produce, right? The trees, agriculture. That was day 3. What happened? What happened in the 3,000 years? We got the Torah. What's the Torah? Eitz Chaim. What are mitzvahs? Mitzvahs are called Peiros, right? Who are the Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, right? We tzaddikim, right? Tzaddik katamar, like a tree, Yifrach. Okay, so that was the 3,000. What happened in the 4th day? What was created on the 4th day? The sun and the moon. The sun and the moon. What happened during the 4th millennium? That was the first 2 temples. The 2 temples. You had the big temple, the first temple, the big miracles, and you had the second temple, which was not as big of a deal as far as the miracles. So you have those luminaries. So the 5th day, what happened on the 5th day? You had all the creepy crawlies. 5,000 years is representative of Gullus, of just being surrounded by the nations, on top of us, all the creepy crawlies. And the 6th day is you have man, you have the beasts, and you have man and woman. You have humankind. And so during the 6,000 years, you have basically man and woman, humanity coming to a place of superiority in the natural world, unparalleled through history. Okay? Now, and then it says, and God concluded, right? And he finished his work. What was the work he was doing? The work he was doing that he had to rest from was this hiding himself, creating. Every level, every day of creation was another layer of Hashem covering himself over and hiding himself through the process of creation, only to be on Shabbos to be totally revealed through it, that he stopped hiding himself through the covering of creation and rather became revealed through all of the multifaceted levels of creation. Instead of being hidden from it, he was revealed through it. Instead of it hiding him, it was a complete vessel that showed Hashem's oneness through it. That was Shabbos. So we have this world. This is our history here. We're coming, and every year, every day, there is more creation, which in a certain sense is synonymous with hiding, hiddenness, right? As we spoke about earlier, from Kriyas Yamsuf, from going out of Egypt through the temples, Hashem was still visibly around in a certain sense. He wasn't as hidden as he is today. And that's why there was there was still that issue of being compelled. Because Hashem was still showing with signs and wonders, even through the temples. Hashem's he was making himself he was poking out from behind the curtains. So that was compelling us a little bit. So our devotion and our loyalty and our love for Hashem is still not truly tested, because he's got to be totally hidden for us to be really tested. Get it? He's got to be totally hidden for us to be really tested. So that's where we're at now. Total hiddenness. That's where we were at the Purim story, right? The Purim story. What does it mean, Megillat Esther? Megillah means ligalot, to reveal. Hester, the hidden. We're revealing the hidden. That's what Purim was. Was there any miracle that could be seen? There was no miracle that could be seen. No miracle was visible. Nothing changed in nature. We want a picture about what the miracle is going to look like. There was nothing changed. They fasted and they see the decree was annulled. They saw that nature, that Hashem through nature was responsive to them. They fasted for 3 days and they saw nature respond. And that was enough. And then 11 months later, they had this war and not one Jew died. And they had an amazing sweeping victory, completely al derech hateva to an extent. It was all through natural means. And they saw that through nature, Hashem was fighting for them. was working for them. They didn't need the sea to split. They saw their effort connected to what was happening in nature, and they understood. It was the revelation of what was hidden. It was the revealing of the hidden. And that's where we're at. It's hidden. You wake up in the morning, where's God? I don't know, I didn't hear from him. Didn't hear about him. He didn't, it was my alarm that woke me up. So we go through the day, everything is hidden. The news, politics, people, buses, whatever. It's all taxes. It's hidden. And so that gives us the opportunity to come to Hashem from a place of completely uncompelled. We're not compelled. Nothing is forcing us and compelling. In fact, most everything is pulling us in the other direction, actually, like away from Hashem. Like, what's the trend? The trend is Netflix, not Hashem, right? That's the trend, right? We want comfort, not love and intimacy. We want easy in ourselves. Yeah.
When it being revealed in like with the bombs or the rockets, back in April.
Yeah, but that's
or
only
the ATM that we were talking about yesterday, the earthquakes the other day in Syria.
Absolutely. But it's something that we need to decide to see it, as opposed to it coming down onto us in our eyes, through our eyes, okay? Instead of it coming down through our eyes and being, wow, what we have to do is we actually have to go in through our ears. Okay? This is the, okay, bear with me. This is the difference. When Hashem is coming to us by Mitzrayim and giving a big Shalom Aleichem, He's coming in through our eyes. He's coming in, we're getting it through our eyes.
Because they see it.
They see it.
They saw it.
They see it, right? And it's very intoxicating.
Okay.
And so but then it goes away, and then we're left, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Okay, now we're in that place. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do now? We don't see it. What can we do when we don't see? What can we do? What's our only option? To hear. We have to hear. We have to hear the words. We have to say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. We have to say Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim. We have to learn Torah. We have to talk about the miracles. We have to talk about Pita. We have to say Hashem is here. We have to get it into our ears. Our ears, while it's not as impressive as seeing, hearing is much more internal. It goes inside. When the physical process of hearing is also, it's like it has to reach us. Like the sound waves have to reach us. When we see something, what we see remains over there. What we see remains over there. But what we hear actually travels to us and comes into our body. The waves come into our body. And they come into our bones. And when we listen to these 3 haftorahs, right? The 3 haftorahs of the 3 weeks that we just passed. It first starts divrei, the words. The second one was shimu, listen. And the third one was chazon, which is a vision. A vision. But it's not a vision that, when you have a vision, it's not really a vision that comes to your eyes. A vision is something that in a certain sense emerges from within and is an internal seeing. And so that's the process now. Whereas before, we were given this vision, the seeing, we witnessed this. But now it's gone, it's dark. So now we have to listen. We have to tell ourselves, we have to talk, and we have to hear what we're saying and hear what other people are saying, and hear Divrei Torah, hear Divrei Amunah. And then that goes into us, comes into our hearts, and now we can actually see, when we look at nature, we don't see miracles, but we see this thing, and now we can envision that. We know what that means. We can interpret it. We can interpret it as this is Hashem right here. We should daven. I was thinking, I want to daven to see Hashem in the world. To see Hashem. Let me see you. Let me see you. Let me open my eyes that I can see you. What am I going to see? What am I going to see? I'm going to see coincidences. What are we going to see? We're going to see these kinds of crazy things, statistic abnormalities. And it's up to me to have the heart to attribute that to God, as opposed to whatever. It was cute.
What you mean this tug of war type?
Well, like let's say the missiles, or when I meet that person that I was looking for, or I was just thinking about the person, and then I saw them, and then we bumped right into or the thing that I was looking for just came to, or this, like, and not to just brush that off, to say, wow, I see this, and anybody with a camera would look and be like, it's a big deal, but I know that this is Hashem speaking to me. I know that this is a communication. I know that this is Hashem working nature. You know, when the money came in, just when I needed it, when the thing did it, just when I did, like, I know that Hashem he's in nature, but it's my connection that I have to develop that allows me the vision to then interpret the world properly. And when that happens, it's livado. It's, what am I saying? I'm saying it's just Hashem. It's just Hashem. It's only Hashem. There's no nature. It's just Hashem. Did this happen? Oh, it's just Hashem. It's Hashem levado. And all of our jobs in this place now, where we are now, is to say and to believe and to live Ein od milvado. There's nothing but Hashem. It's Hashem levado. That's where we need to go. That's where our goal is. Our goal is, what's your goal? What's your goal in Yiddishkeit? My goal in Yiddishkeit is to live completely aware as much as possible that there is no power but Hashem. That nothing has power but Hashem. It's just Hashem levado. And when I live that, integrated as much as possible, now I can see nature. I can interact with nature in a way that does not bother me.
You said last week before you left, you said it's the Chovos Levavos that prepares you.
Yes,
for
this is what the Chovos Levavos is telling you how to do, how to live such a life with that goal in mind. It's intense. It's obviously it's a process. You're not, open up Chovos Levavos and the next day you're just living, totally, Hashem levado. But it's that process. And are we willing? How can we want Geula? How can we want Geula? And I'm asking, and I'm going to leave with this question. And I'm just going to ask this question, and you can think about it if you remember to think about it. But how can we really want Geula or claim that we want Geula if I said to you right now, I have a program that we can work on, that the point of the program is to be cognizant of Hashem as in as many minutes of the day as we're awake, that we're cognizant of Hashem. And if that's like, I don't know, that seems a little too intense for me. Like, I don't know if I want to be that connected. I don't really know if I want to think Hashem is really like with me at every single moment.
It's a trick question though, because the truth is that to say that you want Geula or Mashiach or the rapture or the revelation, whatever it is, to say that you want that is to say that you want out of this.
Right. You want out of this.
I want out of this.
I want out of here.
But now you're asking, look, no, it's not.
Do you want out of here?
That's not the offer.
Do you want out of here?
Yeah.
Great.
But it's what, yeah.
But out of here means, maybe, out of here means you have to get out of here. You have to get off that wheel. There's a way to get off the wheel. The way to get off that wheel is to work on bitachon, is to work on our heart.
You made this up though, which is fine.
No, I didn't make it up.
Okay.
I didn't make it up.
Okay.
I didn't make it up. The Chovos Levavos basically promises. He basically promises. We think I'm doing bitachon. Let me just tell you. We think I'm going to learn bitachon. I'm going to try to practice bitachon. And okay. The Chovos Levavos promises that when you do the things for the right reasons and you do these things, life becomes completely happy. Life becomes completely happy. It's not just let me do these things and okay, like if this is what you want me to do, fine, I'll do it. It's actually, do you want the best life you've ever imagined? Do you want the best life you've ever imagined? I mean, isn't that Geula? Isn't that Geula? Geula is the best life you've ever imagined, right? You can't even imagine it. It's so amazing. But it's like, if we could do something that would get us to that place, and that's what the Chovos HaLevavos tells us Bitachon does. I mean, you could just say, Hashem, I'm just reading the book you gave me. You gave me this book. It says, if I do this, you will make my life amazing. That's basically what he says. And all it requires from us is just to know Hashem levado. That's all bitachon is. Hashem levado. It's all Hashem. It's only Hashem. Hashem levado. I wanted to do a computer thing and see how many times levado appears in Chovos HaLevavos. Because that is what Geula is about. Geula is about the revelation of levado. And we have the opportunity before Geula to get it. And I think we need to take that opportunity. And I think that is where we need to go in order to actually, I mean, if we really want Geula and yet we're not willing to get Geula in our own lives, Shuto Kamashmo, Geula in our own lives. That doesn't mean there's no sickness. Doesn't mean there's no, accidents. Doesn't mean there are no mistakes. We still have a Yetzer Hara for a while. But with our Yetzer Hara to come, levado, right? We were talking about, even though you're angry, but you make yourself happy, you say, I'm going to be happy. That's what we're talking about. That's not comfortable. Why should I be angry? The guy cut me off. The guy cut me off? The guy cut me off? Hashem cut me off. People can't do anything to me. This is what it means. Hashem is the only power. Ein od milvado. People, the guy stole $1 million from you. No one can steal $1 million from you. No one can steal a cent from you. Whatever Hashem is gozer to you, you get. No person, including yourself, can get that, can mess that up for you. Can't do it. So all of a sudden, what's your panties in a bunch for? About this guy. What are you so upset about this guy? You think this guy has power over you? You think the bank manager has power over you? Nothing. It's all Hashem. Take it up with Hashem. Can we do that? Can we do that? Is that where we want to go? Is that living in reality? Is that living more in reality or not? This is the opportunity we have. We have the opportunity to embark on such a journey, to live life that nothing has power but Hashem. And then everything that we do is not because we're trying to get something out of the world or trying to get something out of other people, because people can't give me anything I need. People can't give me anything I need. Hello, you guys are a little older than me, so you've been trying for even more years to see how to get things from other people. How to get emotional stability from other people, how to get financial stability from other people, how to get... Does it work? Not really. Doesn't really work that great. So let's stop trying. Let's realize our folly. Let's realize there's a better way to just know that everything I get from Hashem. That no other power can give me anything. No one can give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. No one can give me money. No one can give me health. No one can give me security. No, there's no such thing as stability. No such thing. No such thing. So instead of trying to pretend like we can pretend there's such a thing, because, the car's right, the house is right, the bank is right, the account is right, that this is okay, so I can imagine to myself, Ki'ilu, I have stability. Let's throw caution to the wind. Let's live in reality and accept there really is no such thing as stability. And let's throw our lot with Hashem and say, Levado, you are Levado. And it is exactly what we're talking about. And that is the perfect coming to Hashem from not compelled, but this is what I want. This is what I'm putting this yoke of heaven on me to do this. It happens to be that like will lead to like the most amazing life. That's not me. That's not me saying that. And freed from having to please people, get things from people, anger, resentment, jealousy, freedom from all that. Because if Hashem is the only power, there's no room for jealousy, there's no room for greed, there's no room for resentment, there's no room for it. What are you upset with people for? What are you upset? Or either you think, these are the two options why you're worried. Okay? These are the two options why you're worried, I think. You think about this. When the next time you're worried about something, ask yourself, it's one of these two things. Either Hashem is not in control, and so you have to be worried, because God knows what's going to be, because God's not in control, and it's really up to this person, and scary. Okay? That's one option. God doesn't have control over this issue, and that's why I'm worried. Or two, God does have total control, but he has it out for me. He wants to zing me. He wants to patch me. He wants to give me a hard time. He's cruel, God forbid. Okay? So think next time you're worried about something, or if you're worried about something right now, then think about it. What is it? Is it that you think that God doesn't have control over it? That there's something else but God? There's nature? Or, yes, God is in control, totally, but I don't know, he's given me such crappy stuff up till now, I think he's just going to continue. What is it? What is it? Is there a third option? Or is there a third option? Let me know. Because I think that every fear, every resentment, everything, it's because either Hashem's not in control, something else has this power, or Hashem is, but he's bad. I don't like it. He's mean. He hates me. He's mean to me. Which is it? Okay, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that thought.
Coming next week,
Bezrat Hashem. Okay, and I think we'll try to conclude the piece next week.
what?
He said when we complete it, we get kimchi. He said.
Okay, we'll see. Hashem, it's up to Hashem. Hashem Levado. Don't think I'm the one, the kimchi. Am I the one? Is it me? Do I have the kimchi?
Or you just don't care about us. You don't want to.
Is that it?
I don't know. All these
Because Hashem doesn't care about you?
No, you.
Well, you have one address for the kimchi, you know? I'm just the messenger. Yeah, exactly. You got to call Walt, you know? Who's Walt? That's who you got to call, and I'm just going to deliver it.